All right, everybody, welcome to Beyond the Leaderboard. This is Trey Honeycutt. Thanks for jumping on. This week, we have a very special guest, Shannon Goldsmith. She has not been with FFL very long, but she is killing it. I think she's going to end up over $300,000 in issue paid premium her first year in the business, and she hasn't even been here a year. And so she's somebody that's worked every single type of lead type. She's done it every way imaginable. She's done travel trips. She's worked instance. She's done it in her backyard. She's done it across the country. She did it in Hawaii. She's run everywhere, done it every type of way. And now she's gotten really good at doing virtual sales over Zoom. So in the next handful of minutes, we're just going to go over what she does on Zoom and how she's having the success that she's having. So Shannon, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So I'm super excited about this. Tell us a little bit about, for those that don't know you, just tell a little bit about your story and how you were introduced to Family First, and then we'll jump right into it.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Shannon Goldsmith. I have been with Family First since February of this year, so February 2021. I was in the corporate world for a very long time, always wanting to, be my own boss, have my own business, but I just never had the courage to do it. I was always really scared. So I worked really hard for a very long time for other people until it basically sucked the life out of me. And then I came to a point where I had to make a big decision, or else it just was not going to a good place. There wasn't enough money in the world to keep me there. So I transitioned into doing sales, which I had avoided all my life. I actually said for decades I would never be a salesperson. And I also never would have ever expected that I'd be in insurance. I always just thought that was left for like boring old people. But here I am. So it was kind of a roundabout, just very chaotic journey to get me to Family First Life, which really leads me to believe that it was totally a divine thing, because I would have never chosen it. And even when the opportunity was presented to me, I really resisted it. So I did real estate for a little bit. I was living in LA. You sell a tear down property. It's $1 million, home price. You get a $30,000 commission. Like, wow, those numbers seemed really great. And I did it, and I did really well my first year. But, the few years following that, I just really realized I didn't love the business. So then I went into a different type of sales. I was selling like a software type of program that was, it was pretty neat. And I liked that type of sales because it was very quick. You weren't going through like a 45-day escrow, dealing with people's emotions, their wishy-washy behavior, all that stuff. But what I realized in both, selling the software and selling real estate, it's really great when you have a lot of people to call. So I called my sphere like a crazy person, in the first few weeks, and I sold a bunch in both cases. And then I ran out of people to talk to. So then I was like, well, what the heck do I do now? Thank God Family First Life was introduced to me, and that I actually took the opportunity. But I basically was on the Facebook page forever, just watching you guys, seeing what you were doing. And then I was like, wow, this is actually it seems like a pretty good gig. So I dove in head first and haven't looked back.
Good job. All right. Well,
thanks.
Yeah, and you definitely don't have to sell your friends and family here. So the leads thing makes a big difference.
It does.
Now, what I like, though, is like you're so adaptable. See,
oh, thanks.
For me, I consider it really difficult because I've always done just the in-home thing with insurance. But you started with that, and now you've transitioned really quickly into, more of a hybrid model where, some days you're in the field in person, and then sometimes you're just selling it, on Zoom or maybe even on the phone. So let's get into for somebody who's looking to do that hybrid model or maybe completely transition to virtual, let's just get into some of the nuts and bolts of it. So start with your phone script. Call me. I'm 25 and 123 Main Street.
Okay. I got to bust the phone script out because I still read from my phone script. So here we go. Okay. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hello, Trey?
Yes.
Hi, Trey. This is Shannon. I'm a liaison with Rocket Mortgage. And I'm just getting back to you about that form that you had filled out and sent in to us about mortgage protection. And it's that program that if anything happened to you or your wife, your entire mortgage would get paid for you and your family. And that's what you were looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, great. So I'm the local underwriter here that's been assigned to help you. I just need to quickly verify a few things. to make sure we get these options out to you. I have your address as 123 Main Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I have your date of birth as June 6th, what are you, 25? What would that put you? 1995? I don't even know how to do the math right now. 1990, whatever.
Yeah, 1995. There we go. That's good enough.
Perfect. Okay. Now, Trey, is that a 30-year mortgage or less?
30 years.
It's 30 years. Okay, perfect. And then how much are you paying per month?
$1,800.
$1,800. Okay. And then are you paying anything extra each month to pay down that mortgage faster?
No.
No? Okay. All right. No problem. Now, Trey, God forbid something happened to you. Who would be your beneficiary?
My wife.
Your wife. Okay. All right. Perfect. So just so I have an idea of what she will qualify for, do you have any health conditions, anything going on?
Nope.
Perfectly healthy, no cholesterol, no blood pressure.
I'm perfectly healthy.
You lucky guy. All right, perfect. And then, so are you taking any medications?
Nope.
None at all. Okay. Now, have you been prescribed any medications in the last 5 years that maybe you're no longer taking? What about any kind of inhaler for asthma, anything like that?
No.
No. Okay.
Take
all right. Perfect. All right. So, Trey, my job is very simple. Like I said, I'm the local underwriter that's been assigned to get this information out to you. Now, these plans, they're pretty neat. They're what we call non-medical. So what that means is you don't have to go through, a doctor's visit, giving any blood or urine samples, anything like that to qualify. They do just send someone like me out to see you for about 15 minutes. We just need to verify your ID, make sure you're alive and breathing, that you're not strapped to a hospital bed, anything crazy like that. And then I've got a few more health questions to ask you to see what you qualify for. And then based on that, I can show you your options and be on my way. So it's a really simple process. Now, Trey, typically, I'm out in the family or community helping families, dropping off this information. But with the pandemic and everything that's going on, they've allowed us to go virtual. So that's just to protect you and your wife and to protect me as well. So have you ever done any kind of like Zoom video calls, anything like that?
Yes.
You have? Perfect. Okay. Well, that makes things super easy for us. So what we'll do is we'll just find a time where we can jump on Zoom for about 15, 20 minutes. I can see you, you can see me, and then we can get this information to you. Okay. So
sounds good.
Perfect. So I'm a little crazy right now. We've got a lot of families asking for this information. I've got about 300 phone calls to make over the next couple of days. So let me just see when I can squeeze you in. So just for scheduling purposes, Trey, are you and your spouse currently working? I'm assuming you are.
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. Either that or you're a trust fund baby, but
no, I wish.
Yeah, me too. So are those traditional hours like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or when are you both typically in the door from work?
We're usually home by 5:30.
5:30. Okay, perfect.
Every night.
All right. So let me see here. Yeah, so my schedule's pretty packed, but I did have a cancellation for this evening. I don't have one at 5:30, but this might work out for you guys. Just you can get home, get settled. I can squeeze you in at about 6:30 for about 15 minutes. Will that work for you and your wife?
Yes.
Okay.
6:30 works.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put you down. What is your email address, Trey?
It's trey@trey.com.
That's perfect. That's easy to remember. Okay. So Trey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out an email to you. It's going to have a link to Zoom. It's very simple. You're just going to click on that link. It'll open up the video and we'll be able to get right to it. But I would like you to grab a pen and paper so you can write something down for me. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay, perfect. So first I'm going to give you my name. It's Shannon, spelled Shannon. Last name Goldsmith, spelled just like it sounds.
Got it.
And then if you could write our appointment time, which is this evening at 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. Okay.
And then I'm going to give you my state license number, and that is 555500.
Nice.
And if you could just read that back to me.
555500.
Perfect. Great.
Shannon Goldsmith.
Awesome. Okay. So Trey, I'm just going to ask you a favor. I do have a pretty packed schedule. And like I said, we are pretty overwhelmed trying to protect families. So I just want to make sure that you and your wife are going to be available on Zoom at 6:30 tonight. Because if you're not, if there's any reason you think you might not be able to make it, please just let me know, because I'd really like to let another family get that time slot. So will you be there?
Yes, we would definitely be there.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So watch out for that email from me. And then I'm just going to ask you a favor. I'm usually pretty punctual, but sometimes, things can run over. If I am running late a few minutes, please give me about a half an hour window. I'll send you a text and then I'll let you know when we're ready to jump on. Sound fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect, Trey. Well, I look forward to meeting you and your wife tonight at 6:30.
Perfect. I look forward to it too. Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right. That was good.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this. There was a lot of good stuff in there.
Thank you.
On the so when they show up late, or they just sit in like your waiting room then, or like, do you see that when they come on, or how does that work?
That's a really good question. I actually don't know because I haven't had that problem yet.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think they do just sit there because I have mine set up for a waiting room. So they do. Yeah. And usually what's awesome about that script, which is totally, the first half is I ripped from Vivian W. So thanks, Viv. But I did shorten the last half of it. I just didn't find the rest of it to be necessary. And I've had a 95% show ratio. It's an I was actually really surprised. And I really think that it's that last part where you're like, hey, listen, I've got so many people to see, are you sure you're going to be there? So everybody's shown up. They've shown up pretty much on time, except for I had one couple like show up an hour late, but I think they had I don't know what they did. I think they were drinking a little bit.
That happens.
Yeah. Yes. And
that's interesting. So, all right. So, I've always done in-homes, and I've always had a bad show ratio. I've done everything on the phone. What I would do is just set them every hour on the hour and hope somebody didn't show up. That's how I eventually got around it to where I could sell at a decent clip. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they just didn't show up because I'm a bad driver and I get lost easy. So I'd be like Hall of Fame, no problem if I actually just had like a chauffeur that get there. So
I love that.
So this virtual thing, it might actually help me too. This is good.
Yes.
So when you get into the in-home on Zoom,
mm-hmm.
What does that look like? So you send them the email with the invite. Do you do it via text too, or is it just email, or do you do a reminder system, or?
Yep. So I have used Calendly for a while. So I was using that when I was selling the debt software. So I'm a big fan of Calendly. You connect it to your Zoom account. It connects to your whatever email calendar platform you use. So it's super awesome. So you just fill in basic information, plug it in, and it blasts out everything. It blasts out to your calendar, their calendar, sends the Zoom link automatically. So I followed Ryan Reynolds' cadence for reminders and things. And that's basically this. So immediately when I schedule, they're going to get an email and a text message. The email is just going to have, basic hey, this is an efficient meeting. We're going to cover these basic 3 things, right? Here's the link to join. And then the text message, it's a similar thing. They'll get that link. So that's right away when we book. And then 24 hours before the actual appointment, they're going to get another email reminder. And then what I have been doing is either the morning of or just a few minutes before my call, I send them a very casual message from my own number, which is another thing that Ryan, recommended. And it works like a charm. Hey, Trey, this is Shannon, just confirming our call. Actually, no, I don't. And if it's in the morning, I'll say, just confirming our call for 6:30 p.m. tonight. Here's a little info about me, so you know who you're speaking with. And then I send them a link to a website page that I created that has a picture of me, and it has a link to all my licenses. So it opens up a PDF and it has every single license that I have. And then I also have a link to, I think it's NAIC website, and that's where you can go on and they can verify that they're actual legit licenses. So if it's just a few minutes before the appointment, it's the same text message for the most part. Hey, Trey, looking forward to seeing you on Zoom at 6:30. Here's a little info about me so you know who you're speaking with. And then I send it. Most everybody has looked at it. and it's worked like a charm, and the show ratio has been excellent. But what I will tell you is I, for the most part, am booking for the same day. And that's something that Vivian talked about in her big, virtual training. And I really like it. So I've set up my schedule where Thursday I dial for my in-homes, Friday and Saturday, because that's the weekends. I've said this many times, so is everybody. Weekends are your money makers, right? And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the mornings, I just start calling leads and I book appointments for that evening. And I'm sure that that's what contributes to the show ratio, but it still works just as good. I haven't had any issues if the appointment is like a day later.
Wow, that's a great idea. So how many can you get like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday by doing that in the morning? What do you shoot for? Are you trying to get 4 in the evening or 6 or?
Yeah, I mean, 6 is great. So I know I could pack more in, and I haven't done that yet because I'm still so new at this. Like, I'm just kind of finding my sea legs. So when I was booking, I was like a little timid, and so I booked them and I gave myself plenty of time because I wish I had a short in-home. I really do. But like mine just somehow, I don't know, we just get chatty and they last a long time. So I've booked, I think at most like 5 or 6 on a day, and it's worked out fine. That I can fit reasonably.
So what do you define as a long time? How long do they last?
Well, if it's a husband and wife and I'm doing 2 apps, it's an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. I just don't know why. I wish it wasn't, but it is.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter if they're buying it.
They're buying it.
It only matters if your in-home is really long, by the way, if you stay there 3 hours and they don't buy it.
Yeah.
If you stay 3 hours and write 10,000 AP, by all means, stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You want to be on and off if they aren't going to get it. That's all. Well, that's really interesting. Okay. So, and you've dialed all types of leads. You did a mortgage protection script, but you don't just do mortgage protection. I mean, you've had $10,000 weeks off internet and other different types. One of the things that is interesting about doing this, though, since you are in Arizona and you're in the eye of Hurricane Grady,
yep,
that's what I like to call that.
Yes.
Which, incidentally, we have like a bunch of agents in our organization in Arizona too.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Ryan Reynolds, how did you end up getting coaching from him? Was that at a Work Spots training, or you met him and called him on the phone, or was it from the Phoenix event? Or
good question. That all came from fflvirtualsales.com. Nice. So I will tell you, I'm continually surprised. Like, people reach out and ask me questions, and I'm super more than happy to answer any questions anyone has. So you can reach out to me anytime. But what I'm always surprised about is they'll ask me these questions. I'll be like, hey, did you go on to fflvirtualsales.com? And they're like, I didn't even know that existed. I'm like, well, or even there's people that know that it exists and they don't watch it. And I'm like, what are you doing? I like all the stuff that I'm doing. I basically ripped off of these geniuses that are so generous and share that their secrets. God, we're so lucky to have these people, so I can stalk you and steal all your good info.
So I don't know why you weren't having hour-long conversations with Ryan. You were listening to his training on the website.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's great.
I will say that I did reach out to him. Because in his virtual training, he had mentioned that he was tweaking the notifications, how often he was contacting people. And he had mentioned that what he found is that for whatever reason, because I was doing the same thing originally with Calendly, blasting people 4 hours to go, see you in an hour, 10 minutes to go, it's so much. And he dialed it back to just the few that I mentioned. And he hadn't said on that training, if, how that testing was working. And so I reached out to him after the fact to say hey, how's it working? And he was very kind and responded and all that good stuff. So yeah, it does work.
That's interesting. You tweak that like that, That's basically doing it that way, 4 hours to go, an hour to go, 10 minutes, see you in 2 minutes. That gives the impression that nobody shows up. When I started in insurance, I had a ton of I'd sell it and then they'd cancel it. So I got all these chargebacks. Nobody was probably worse at getting chargebacks than I was.
Yeah.
And I was so gun shy about it. If I was leaving the appointment, I'd be like, Shannon, so you're not going to cancel, right? Any reason you can think of why you might cancel. If you were going to cancel, you're going to call me. Like I talk about canceling more than I talk about them getting it. And then the next day they call it cancel because they were like, everybody must cancel.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's kind of funny. Hopefully there's some training material in that. Don't talk about it so much, That's what I'm trying to say. What about so now we're in the actual in-home, right? Mm-hmm. So now I showed up. What do you do now?
Yeah, so I'll bring up the few things that I feel like have totally changed like my close ratio. And again, like Seth Lucas did the most insane training on an in-home like a few months ago. I watched that probably 5 times. He just has. Yep. So definitely, if you haven't watched that, you got to watch it. So there's a little bit of Seth Lucas in there. There's a little bit of Paul McLean. Trey, I picked up some nuggets from you. So really what I do is the presentation is the same as when I'm in person. It's exactly the same. I tried the PowerPoint situation and I was like, it was just like too much. Like it just like, I don't know. I think they just wanted to talk and not feel like, and some people it works best for them, but I felt like I was like a teacher pointing to a whiteboard. I didn't like that vibe. I'm better at just connecting with people. So my opener, I always lead in with like, I want to establish trust and credibility like right now. I don't want to deal with this, like, I don't want to give you my social information and stuff. And I had done Zooms before and I didn't open like this. And almost every time I had a struggle with people like wanting to give me their info and I had to like really talk them into it. But I just open and say, just simple greeting, hello, glad we could meet. We don't have a lot of time, but we'll make sure we take care of what we need to take care of today. Did you receive my text message with my license information? Were you able to look at that? Okay, perfect, Trey. I just always like to send that to everybody because I just want to make sure you really know who you're talking to, that I'm a state licensed professional. Everything we talk about is going to remain confidential. Everyone's like, yep, cool. And then I just go straight into my intro. So, sweet. Yep.
So what's the intro after that?
Okay, so the intro is, so Trey and Dre, I'm just going to tell you what I do and how the process works. And it's super simple. And then we're just going to get straight into it. I like to keep things efficient so you can get back to your evening, okay?
Sounds good.
So, perfect. So Trey and Dre, I'm what they call a field underwriter. So what that means is I'm not here as a salesperson for an insurance company. I simply field underwrite. Why that matters to you is because there's a lot of different companies that participate in mortgage protection, which could potentially mean hundreds of different options for the two of you. So what we find is that, when people aren't presented with all their options, it's common that they can get into a policy that might not be the best fit, or maybe they end up paying more than they really need to. So that's where I come in. So I'm here to help you quickly sort through all that and quickly identify, the best policy, the best company, and save you some money in the process. So, and then I share my screen and I show them the credibility sheet with all the logos. And I just say, so, not every insurance company is going to make sense for you. Not every policy is going to be the right fit. But Trey and Dre, I just want you to know whatever direction we might recommend for you, it's only going to be with an A or A+ rated companies. We just simply don't mess with anybody that's less than that because we just want to make sure that, if you're going to be investing money in a policy to protect each other, that if God forbid something happens, that insurance company, they're not just going to pay, but they're going to pay fast. So we just want to know that they're financially solvent. They've got good customer service. They do what they say they're going to do. So I always show this sheet right here because, if you've been around long enough, you've recognized some of these names. Do any of these companies look familiar to you, Trey or Dre?
Yes. John Hancock and Mutual of Omaha.
Perfect. Yep. Yes, those are 2 awesome companies. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So here's how the process works. It's very easy. Okay. We're going to do 3 things. First, I have to see what you qualify for. So we're going to get into some health questions. We are going to talk about your mortgage, and then we're going to get into finances a little bit, but I'm not doing that to get too personal or make things uncomfortable. I'm really just trying to understand what the need is because Trey and Dre, sometimes what I find is that some people really don't need as much mortgage protection as they think they do, or sometimes they don't even need it at all. So if that's the case for either of you, then I'll make sure to let you know, okay?
Okay.
the second thing is we really need to find something that's comfortable in the budget, because in my experience, what I've found with affordability is, yes, we're talking about mortgage protection, but what you're really doing is you're protecting each other. You're protecting your family. And so, most of us, we would die for our family. We would do anything for them. So, we sometimes people will make a decision from their heart. They want to get as big of a policy as they can get because it makes them feel good as a man, knowing that their family's protected. And sometimes they bite off more than they chew. And a couple of years go by, things get tight and they get rid of that policy. And that just does nobody any good. Now your family's not protected. Trey, it's wasted your time. It's wasted my time. But most importantly, it's wasting your money. And I just don't want to do that. So we're going to find something that's going to be sustainable even on your worst day. Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect. And then the last thing we're going to do is we need to see if you can even get approved for it. So quotes are just a theory. They really don't mean anything unless we know we can actually get you approved. So I'll go ahead and help you through that process. Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, great. And then I just go straight into the financial inventory.
Perfect. And then before you show prices, do you do anything before you show prices, or you just get right into it after the financial inventory?
So what I do is I have found that just really works best for me is like, I kind of take it from like an educational approach, and I let people engage in like the selection process, I guess. And so what I do is I tell them the 3 categories of mortgage protection or life insurance, whatever we're selling. And so I start with accidental, term, and then I do permanent. And I make them write on a piece of paper, that, like $1 sign, and I go through accidental, $2 signs for term, $3 signs for permanent, talk about the pros and cons of each. And then I have them tell me, which category they like the best, and then go through numbers. And then when it's time to go through the numbers, I'll just say, okay, I'm just going to pull some information up for you really quick. So if you guys want to take like a quick water break, this will just take me 2 minutes, and then we'll just get right into it. At first, what I was doing was, because I had watched Ginger's presentation, which is amazing. She's just a stone cold killer on virtual sales, right? She like does this amazing PowerPoint, types things up. Like I tried doing that and it just took me so dang long. And then, but then she also did say that she shares her screen and she lets people see the quoting tool. And I was like, well, what the heck? Like that just totally threw me off, because when I'm sitting in person, I do top-down selling where I go for the max they can qualify for. And I do like 3 options, like most, medium, least. And then I cover it with a piece of paper and I like go through line by line. These are the benefits of the policy. And then I make people agree, like Trey and Jure, do you like what this policy does for you? Do you agree that this would really help you if something, awful happened? And I get people to agree with that. So I didn't really know how to make that shift on Zoom, So I just did it one day where I'm just like, screw it. Like, I don't want to deal with typing, So what I decided to do first is I knew what direction we were going to go. So I just went through like, hey, this is the policy. This is what it does for you. So Trey, if God forbid you didn't come home tomorrow, Jure is going to have immediate coverage. She's going to file a claim with the insurance company, yada, yada. And I go through the whole thing. And then before I share my screen to show prices, I have found by normalizing the pricing conversation, my conversion has just like skyrocketed. I mean, I literally, last month I had a really bad month. It was just weird and off. And I think I was just in my head. And then this month, it's just been like it's like 95% close ratio. But I also have tweaked my presentation. And this is a big tweak that I've done, and it's really helped on Zoom too. Before I share my screen, I just say to people, listen, we're going to start looking at numbers, but here's the thing about numbers. I have no idea what's going to seem high to you. I have no idea what's going to seem low to you. So we're just going to start somewhere. And I need you to just share with me what you think about these numbers, if they fit in with your budget, if you're comfortable with it. Based on what we've talked about, I believe they should be. But I just need you to be clear with me on that. And everyone's like, okay, cool. And then I'll share my screen, and then I'll go straight into like showing the quoting tool. Like I'll pull up the company, explain the company a little bit, and then I'll start with the max. And it's just like Ginger said, people will start going, okay, we're looking at 30,000, American Eagle Premier. What about like 25,000? What about 20? It gets them really involved in the process, and then they just pick it and away we go. So that normalizing, the pricing conversation has been huge. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. I never thought to do that. So when you say so they get involved in it, you guys agree on a price, and then how do what do you do then? Like, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to send you an email. You got to sign it. What do you do then?
Yep. So I just go, perfect. Let's go ahead and see if we can get you qualified. They go, okay, cool. And then I just, with the screen right there, I just open up the application. I don't ask for driver's license up front. I don't ask for the checks up front. I just start going through the app. I'm sorry. I ask for driver's licenses once we're starting with the application. Like, I think a lot of people will ask for it up front. I don't do that. And then once we get to the banking part, that's when I say, okay, it's time to input banking info. I kind of am like, I don't know. I feel like I've warmed people up through the application process to the point where now it's time to like, okay, let's go ahead and input banking info. And I haven't had any pushback at all on Zoom with that. Now that all the little pieces I've added into my presentation, the credibility, the website with all my licenses, all that stuff leading up to it, people are so comfortable at that point that they just give it up, thankfully.
So my wife is a school teacher, and they go over her school benefits, and the guy always comes out, right? And so because of COVID, he does this on Zoom, and he's an insurance guy. Like, I've been trying to recruit him now that I got to see him on Zoom. And he did the whole thing on Zoom. And I was just like, and it was so normal. And my wife was just like, oh yeah. And I'm like, sweetie, he's just trying to sell you IUL. I can do that too. Stop. Don't get too far into this. I have a license,
Yeah.
But man, I mean, I think people are more used to doing stuff like this now,
Yep. They totally are.
She was buying.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I've met with people, and a lot of times they're going, well, yeah, I do church on Zoom now. Like, I have some direct mail leads that come from some pretty, like, not rural, but they're small town places. And some of these churches, they're still not meeting in person. So they're like totally comfortable with Zoom. Yeah.
Zoom and everybody's kids went to school on Zoom. Another question though, you said the $ thing. So accidental, term, and perm.
Yep.
And then which one do they think they would like the most? I mean, is anybody not choosing permanent? How does that, what do you do when they're younger and you're not trying to sell them a whole life? You want them to get America with cash back. Like, do you just not show them permanent because you know what you're going to show them, or?
What I do is I mention the IUL. So, but what I learned from you is like, I was kind of struggling with that because we kind of go into the weeds a little bit, if I got too heavy in the IUL stuff. So I know a lot of people do cash back. I'm finding that, like, when I'm comparing and letting people choose, they're liking the IULs. So, but I'm more than happy to show people cashback options. If they're just looking at a term, I absolutely show them cashback. But I'll tell you, most of the young people I've met with really like the idea of the IUL. So I've
like IULE or
IULE. Yep.
Got it.
With Mutual
Yeah,
Omaha.
great.
Yep.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right. So what else would you like to share with people that are watching when did you actually start with us, by the way? How long has it been?
I haven't done the math, but my first day out in the field was February 19th. So I don't know, is that 10 months yet?
Yeah,
maybe?
It's coming up. It's almost.
Yeah.
It'll be 10 months in a few days.
It's been a roller coaster ride, that is for sure. And I guess that's what I want to say is, it's amazing to be at this place now, because looking back is when you realize like where the real magic is of this business. Like, it is so bumpy and uncomfortable. Maybe not for everyone, but for me, it absolutely was. Like, right now, like, I literally had a moment on Saturday where I was driving home, and I was like, I can't believe this is real life. Like, I really cannot believe this is real life. Like, I'm in a zone, I'm in the flow, I feel confident, which gives me a sense of like, I think I come forward with a very peaceful, easy vibe, like a non-salesy person. I feel really good that I'm helping people. I love what we do for people. But it took a long time and a lot of crappy appointments and messing up to get to that place. And I'm watching a lot of new people, and it's like they're so thrown off by the hard stuff, and they stop. They almost take the hard stuff on as a sign that it's not going to work for them. And I know it's so easy to think that way because I was that person that didn't believe in myself. But I didn't have a plan B, thank God. Because if I did have a plan B, I might have just convinced myself that going back to that soul-sucking life that I had would have been better. And it absolutely would not. And I mean, you've heard me talk about some pretty low, scary moments with my journey with FFL that, like, by the grace of God, I kept going. And who you become in the process is like the real prize of this, because it's not at some point, like I literally wrote $24,000 this weekend, and I was like, whatever, it's just money. It's just money. But it's like, what you think about is like, damn, where, I can't believe this is me. I can't believe I'm finally this person that I always wanted to be, but was maybe too scared. And so I just encourage anybody that's watching this, like, you have to, like, you got to run as many appointments as you can. Just be okay with being messy. The messier, the better. Like, my heart just explodes when I see people that go just like full out and they don't care how bad it looks. Like, I just love that, and that's when you're really going to win with this business. And it's the same thing with Zoom. I was overthinking it for a while, and I was scared to start, even with all the experience I had, which is still not a ton, but, I didn't have any reason to be scared, but I finally just like, screw it, and just dove in, and that's what you got to do. But also another thing I'm watching new people do is, like, they're not watching training videos. I'm like, yeah, you got to get out in the field. That's the most important thing. So that's where you invest all your time. But at night, when you're crying yourself to sleep because you sucked that day, you put on a podcast and you listen to stuff, because it's the only reason why I'm here, is because I'm like stalking people and watching them. So that would be my final piece of advice.
Well, that's why we set it up that way, so that you can go do some activity. Because in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know, and you might be better at it than you think. So we don't need to make you a freaking phenom before you do anything. So you go do it, and you're like, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. Well, I can fix that. So you start watching the videos, and then you get better, and then you go apply it again. And the process works. What's your best month that you paid so far, Shannon?
30, I think it was like 38.4 or something like that, but that's going to change real soon.
Yeah, it is, because you submitted like 52 or something in the last 2 weeks. So it's changing real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good work. I appreciate you jumping on and sharing with us. And the thing I love about Shannon is when she said make a mess out of it, that's what she did. And a lot of agents are comfortable doing that part. But what Shannon was really good at was she was good at asking for help without complaining, which is a whole nother skill. She's probably the most skilled person I've ever met. She's crying herself to sleep. And she would ask for help, but she wouldn't complain. And so you've been really easy to work with because of that. And everybody works with you, Matt and David and Andrew and everybody, we all think the same thing. So Sean too. So.
That means so much to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. And, what you guys do for us on a daily basis is incredible. So I just really appreciate it.
All right. Well, you guys make it a great week. Thanks for jumping on the Talk to you all